Cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. Every time a vehicle passes, the government sends a chunk of our expensive vehicle excise duty and taxes to a private organisation who profit greatly from the transaction. This is the A1M motorway between Alconbury and Peterborough, and it's a toll road that you pay to use every time you drive on it, but I'm guessing you had no idea. The correct term for such a road is a shadow toll road, and the A1M was one of the first of its type to be constructed. But these days there are several shadow toll roads around the country, all working as nice little money earners for the companies that own them, and in the long run we end up paying more for the infrastructure provided. So how did we end up with such a situation? It started in the early 1990s when the Conservative government at the time came up with the idea of design, build, finance and operate contracts, or DBFO for short. Let's say you're the government and you want to build a hospital, but you've got no money, having just come out of a 3-year-long recession. What do? DBFO. You get a private hospital building company to pay for and handle the construction and operation of such facilities on the basis that you'll pay them back over an extended period of time, something like 30 or 40 years. And to make those payments, you'll simply dip into the taxpayers' pot. The same idea can be applied to roads, and it's what led to the construction of the A1M between Alconbury and Peterborough. If you've ever wondered why there's a random stretch of A1M motorway seemingly in the middle of nowhere, this is why. With a cash-strapped government, they awarded several DBFO contracts, and one such contract went to Road Management Group Limited of Peterborough, or RMG, who was suggesting the construction of this section of A1M. To be fair, it's a well-built piece of motorway that was, at the time, one of the busiest sections of the A1, so an upgrade to this standard was perhaps justifiable. Until you realise that there's only about 14 miles of this nice motorway, and either side of that is the standard A1, so ultimately it's pointless. But not for RMG, of course. Their intention from the start was to build a chunky motorway and then sit back and watch the money roll in. How much money? A lot, but we'll get to that. First, I need to explain how they get paid, and as mentioned earlier, it's a shadow toll road. What this means is that each time a vehicle drives on this stretch of road, an amount is paid to RMG out of the VED, RFL, road tax, tax pot, our money. But how do they count the traffic and take the correct amount of cha-ching? These days you could of course use ANPR cameras or similar, but this stretch of the A1M opened in 1998 when ANPR wasn't really a thing. Instead, they used and continue to use inductive loops. It's a simple and cheap technology that uses electromagnetism to sense passing vehicles. You could say that these inductive loops are the toll booths of the A1M shadow toll road, and you'll spot them by way of a collection of thin lines and squares in the road surface. There are two main toll booths, one at each end of the A1M, placed in such a way to ensure that they count all of the traffic, but I have found another toll booth inductive loop on a northbound slip road because no one gets away with not paying, and interestingly, these inductive loops are able to classify the type of vehicle passing over, so if you're driving a van or a motorhome or heavy goods vehicle, there's a strong chance that you're paying more than a regular car. So how much are we paying? Unsurprisingly, exact figures are hard to come by, and all I can do is provide a rough estimate based on the figures that I have managed to find. It's said that in 1999, £23 million was collected and paid out in tolls to RMG, which is £63,000 per day. Based on around 75,000 cars using the road every day, you're looking at about 85 pence, which doesn't seem too unreasonable. But let's think about that for a moment. These DBFO contracts led to the A1M and several other nice roads being constructed at a time when they otherwise wouldn't have been. They cost us a matter of pence to use on a daily basis. They don't interfere with our day-to-day. What's the problem and where's the catch? Well, it's a rip-off. If we now factor in the entire length of the contract, we're being shafted. First things first, RMG spent £128 million on building the road. Fair enough. However, by the end of the contract, they should see a return of around £700 million. Out of that, they will have to pay maintenance on the road, but of course, the less you pay in maintenance, the more you make in profits. So where's the incentive to do a good job on keeping the road up to standard? But the real kick in the face is that had the government just borrowed the money to build this section of the A1M rather than contract it out, it would have cost, all paid and done, somewhere in the region of £285 million. That's an awful lot less than £700 million, isn't it? And herein lies the problem with building roads in such a way. In the long run, it just costs us far more. In 2006, independent analysis of the first 8 DBFO roads showed that they were all going to be costing us far more than they should have, and they continued to do so. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Crazy. Thanks for watching.